everyone, welcome back to my channel. So this video is gonna be my July wrap up. I forgot what month it was for a minute, but we're in August, so this is my July wrap up. So I read 10 books in July, which I'm honestly really proud of because, as you know, if you've watched any of my videos, I have been in a reading slump for like ages, and this is the most that I have read in 1 month in a very long time, and it's really exciting because it means I'm finally back in my groove and reading a lot of books every month, and I found a lot of new favorites. Like, this was a really good reading month also, and yeah, I'm just really excited about all of these books that I've read. I'm also going to be sharing my August TBR at the end of the video because I'm a mood reader, so I don't really want to make like a whole August TBR video because I'm probably not going to stick to that. But there are a couple of books that I am reading this month for different reasons, which I'll get into when I get to that at the end of the video. But let's just get into the books that I read in July. So the first book that I read was People With Me on Vacation. This is actually my very first reread, and I loved it so much. As you can tell from all the tabs, specifically all of the pink ones, I just love this story so much. We follow Poppy and Alex and their relationship over the course of like 12 years, and they had a falling out and they haven't talked to each other in 2 years, and they're rekindling their friendship when Poppy asks Alex if he wants to go on one more trip together, and then it just all goes from there. And I love this book so much, and I love how it jumps back and forth from the present and also the past. Like, it'll start off in the present day and then it'll go to 12 summers ago and then back to the present 11 summers ago. And I like how it jumps back and forth like that because you can really see their relationship growing and their feelings for each other getting stronger, and it's just so good. So I love this so much, and I obviously gave it 5 stars because I just loved it so much. It's just so good. After that, I got into my manga binge, so I read the first 3 volumes of Spy Family. This is volume 1, volume 2, and then volume 3. I give all of these 5 stars, obviously, because this series is just so good. I watched the anime for the first time a couple of months ago, and I loved it so much. Like, this is probably one of my new all-time favorite series, favorite animes, favorite mangas, because it's just so good. You're basically following this agent named Twilight who is on a mission to basically stop like a war, and in order to complete this mission he needs to pose with a fake family. So he finds himself a child who is Anya, and she is a telepath, and then he finds a wife, Yor, who is an assassin, and it's just so good. So you're following a spy, an assassin, and a telepath, and no one knows who the other person truly is, so they're all keeping secrets from each other, but they're also just so sweet and wholesome. Like, the relationship that these 3 grow over the course of what I've read so far and in the anime, they just develop such a sweet relationship, and you can see that Lloyd truly cares about Anya and Yor, and it's just so good. So if you want to get into manga or anime, I highly recommend this series because it's really easy to get into, and it's just so good. After that, I read one of my new all-time favorite romances because I just love this book so much, and that is The Roughest Draft. You're basically following these 2 writers who wrote a really popular, like, best-selling book, but then they had some sort of falling out and they are not writing together anymore, but because they need to fulfill their contract, they're basically forced to write again, and they haven't spoken in years. And Katrina, our main character, hasn't written in years either, so you're basically following her and Nathan as they're trying to navigate their feelings towards each other because they had a really bad falling out, and you're also navigating them getting back into writing together, and they're just discovering their feelings for each other that they've had for so long, and it's just so good. I don't know if I can do this book justice because there's no way to describe just how good this book is. It has 2 POVs and the audiobook has 2 narrators, which just made the experience so much better because I just love a dual POV story with two narrators. There were so many lines throughout this book that I wish I could have highlighted and annotated because there were just so many beautiful lines, and just the way that Nathan talks about Katrina sometimes is just so good. So I'm dying to read this so I can highlight it and annotate it because it is just so good, and this is definitely one of my new all-time favorite romances. It gave me everything that I was hoping book lovers would give me. So if you didn't like book lovers, or you like book lovers and want something that's like that, then I highly recommend this one because it's just so good. After that, I decided to dust off my Kindle and read a couple of books on here. So I read Dating Dr. Dill. I thought that this story was cute. It has fake dating in it, and I really like fake dating because you can really see how the two characters slowly get feelings for each other. I just think it's really good. Like, all of the angst and the tension is really good, but ultimately I thought that this story was fine. I gave it 3 stars. It didn't really stand out to me. And this one we have a strong female main character. She is really determined to get what she wants, and once she wants something, she sets her mind to it, which I really liked. But then we have the male main character who basically doesn't believe in love, and you're kind of following as she's trying to get him to believe in love. And in theory, that premise seems interesting, but I just ultimately don't really like that whole idea. Like, I thought I was really gonna enjoy it, but I didn't really like that the woman was basically trying to convince him that love is real, and she was kind of like pining after him, even though she knew that he couldn't give her what she wanted. But eventually things do happen and they do have a happy ever after, but ultimately I just didn't really like it that much. I didn't really connect to the characters or the story because I just wasn't a fan of the premise, but I thought it was cute. It was really nice, but it wasn't anything that really stood out to me. And then I got into my historical romance binge because one of my friends loves historical romances, and I've heard many good things about this author specifically, and that is Tessa Dare. So I read the Wallflower Wager. I confused this one with the other one. So first I read the Wallflower Wager and I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. We basically follow our main characters, Gabriel and Penelope, if I'm not mistaken. So you're basically following Gabriel and Penelope has a ton of animals. She loves pets, she loves rescuing animals, so she has like basically a farm in her house. And then next door we have Gabriel, who moves in suddenly one day, which she is not expecting him to be there, and they have a really funny encounter in his house. And I just thought it was really cute. It was really steamy. Tessa Dare knows how to write a good steamy scene, and she just knows how to write a good romance in general, because the 3 books that I have read from her so far, I have really enjoyed. I love her writing, I love her characters, and I love her romances. And I just think she's so good at writing a good romance. So I really enjoyed that one. And then I read the Governess game. I really enjoyed this one because Chase has 2 children in his care, and it was just really sweet seeing how Alex slowly warmed up to the children and Chase as well, and they slowly became their own little family. And I just thought that was really cute. There were a lot of scenes that I really enjoyed, and Tessa Dare just knows what she's doing when she writes a romance, because they're just so good. So I gave those 2 4 stars. I really enjoyed them. If you want to get into historical romances but you don't know where to start, or you're kind of intimidated by the genre as a whole, then I highly recommend Tessa Dare, and specifically the Girl Meets Duke series, because I have really enjoyed all 3 of the books in the series, and I think that they're easily accessible for someone who doesn't really read historical romance, because I didn't know anything about the genre when I first read these books, and I thought they were really easy to get into, and the romances are just so good. I just love how Tessa Dare writes her characters and how they're so fleshed out and they don't feel one-dimensional or flat or boring. Like, each character has their own backstory, their own trauma, their own ambitions, and she really dives into that in her stories, and I just really enjoy them so much because you can really connect to the characters. because they just don't feel like one-dimensional people. Like, they actually have some dimension to them, I guess. Like, I just really enjoy everything that I've read from her so far, and I can't wait to continue making my way through her backlist because there are so many books that my friend has recommended me from, specifically Tessa Dare, so can't wait to continue getting into historical romances. The next book I read was Convenience Store Woman. I picked this up on a whim because I had the audiobook and my loan was running out, and it was really short. As you can see, it was only like 3 hours long, and I thought this was an interesting story. We basically follow Keiko, who works in a convenience store. She has worked there for like 18 years, and she's really happy with her life. She loves working at the convenience store. She doesn't really want anything else, but you're following her navigating life and her relationships with like her friends and her family, and how they want her to find a husband and find like a real job. But Keiko's happy where she is. She's worked there for so long, and it's what she knows and loves, and she doesn't want to conform to what her friends and family and society is expecting of her. I thought the commentary was really interesting, but ultimately it just kind of fell flat for me. Like, I couldn't really connect to the story, and maybe it's because it was so short. Like, maybe it could have done with being a little bit longer, or maybe it's because I was listening to the audiobook, so I wasn't really like focused in on the story. So I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was really interesting. It's a super quick read. This copy that I have is less than 200 pages. Like, you can easily read this in one sitting because it is so small, and like the words are pretty big on this copy that I have here. But yeah, I just thought it was okay. It didn't really stand out to me, so I just gave it 3 stars. The last book that I read in July was part of a reading experiment that I am currently working on, and that book is The Stationery Shop. This book was so good. I literally sobbed my eyes out for 45 minutes. When I finish with the reading experiment and the videos up on my channel, you will see just how much I cried my eyes out at this book, because it was just so beautiful and heartbreaking, and the writing was beautiful, and the story was just so beautiful but devastating. You're basically following 2 teenagers in Iran and their relationship that slowly forms, but because they're living in such a politically charged environment, there are many things that are keeping them apart. And it's just so beautiful, so beautifully written. Like, I literally highlighted so many pages because it was just so beautiful. Like, I have some dog ear moments too. I just love this book so much. It's definitely one of my new favorite books, and definitely my favorite book that I read for that reading experiment, because this was just so good. Like, if you want a good book where you will sob your eyes out in the best way possible, then I highly recommend this one. I've been trying to get literally everyone that reads to read this book because it's just so good. I have successfully convinced one of my friends to read it, and she's been slowly making her way through it, and I just need everybody to read this book because it is so beautiful, and I need more people to talk about it because it is just so good. So those are all the books that I read in July. A lot of new favorites, lots of 5 stars, just a really good reading month all around. So those are the books I read in July. And now for my August TBR. So 3 of the books I'm going to be reading in August are for that same reading experiment where I read The Stationery Shop. So one of those books is A Sorcery of Thorns. I am like halfway through, I think. Not really gonna say much because I do have that whole video coming up that includes this book. So Sorcery of Thorns, and then also The Night Circus, also halfway through this one. Not gonna say much about this one either. And then also 5 centimeters per second. So these are the 4 books, well, technically 3. These are the 3 books I'm reading in August for that reading experiment. And then I'm also gonna be reading probably the biggest book that I own and probably will ever own, and that is Priory of the Orange Tree. Don't ask me why I want to read this, because I don't really know what to tell you, because this book is massive. Like, I have never owned a book this big. Like, just holding it and flipping through it is kind of freaking me out. But I am gonna be buddy reading this with my friend, because she really wants to read it too, and I really want to read it too. And I think that the only way that either of us is ever going to read this book is if we read it together, because it's going to be a little bit less intimidating like that if you have someone reading it with you. And I think this is going to be a really interesting experience, because this book is massive. It's very floppy, which I love and appreciate. I'm obviously not going to finish reading this in August, because this book is freaking massive. There's no way I can finish reading this in 1 month. And I'm also going on a trip at the end of August for 6 days, so that's also cutting into like my reading time. So I am not going to finish reading this in August, because I'm just gonna take my time with it, because it's kind of scary, and it's just, there's a lot. There's 2 maps, like 2 different maps. I've never read a book with 2 maps in it, but this is beautiful. That is stunning. And yeah, I just think this is gonna be very interesting and very, very scary. But I'm interested to see what I think about this one, because I have been really interested in reading this for a very long time. It's just been very intimidating. Like, every time I look at it on my shelf, I'm like, I'm never gonna read you because you're so big. But I'm ready for the challenge. I'm just, again, gonna take my time with it. I'm not going to rush through this. I'm not gonna finish it this month. I'm just gonna finish it when I finish it. So yeah, those are the books that I read in July, and also some of the books that I plan on reading in August. Let me know what you read in July and what your favorite books were. Mine were definitely The Roughest Draft and The Stationery Shop. Those are my favorite books that I read in July. And also let me know what books you want to read in August, because I do want to sprinkle in some other books here and there throughout the month, and just let my mood decide where it takes me. But yeah, so that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.